Welcome to AngelNV. This is the second session of our boot camp, and today's topic is customer discovery and validation, and we have Liz Heiman with us. AngelNV is a program of Startup NV. We're Nevada's statewide business incubator, and this is a two-part program. Right now you're in the first part, which is for entrepreneurs, and the second part is where we teach angels how to do angel investing. So the angels will each bring $5,000. We're looking for at least 40 of them so that we have a pot of $200,000 to invest in one Nevada-based company. If we have more, it's entirely possible that we'll get more. We can invest in more than one company. Because we're a partner with the SSBCI program through GOED, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, they match the amounts that we invest. So we're actually looking at a $400,000 investment at the end of this program, which will happen on April 29th in City Hall in Las Vegas. Here's the timeline. Right now, you guys are in the founder bootcamp part. You've got in December into January, you have the opportunity to apply. You may actually discover through this process that you're not ready for angel investment yet. You need to grow your company a little bit more, in which case you shouldn't apply. But if you feel that you meet the qualifications, then go ahead and apply. And as soon as the angels get just a little bit of education in January, they're going to start looking at the company applications and reading through your executive summary, your team background. You'll be able to upload your pitch deck to the GUST platform. And that's where you actually do the application. And then starting January 24th, that's when those investors start, and they go through an elimination process. They read all of the company backgrounds, and then we get to about 15 that we're going to hear a 3-minute pitch from. And then all of the investors vote on which ones they want to hear more from. And we get to maybe about 10 companies for a 10-minute pitch. And they vote then again to get us to 6 finalist companies. And then their real learning begins. Once they have the 6 finalist companies, they separate into teams and they perform due diligence. And so they really get to know the founders. They're talking with the founders, getting their incorporation documents, their capital table. They're getting all sorts of information, talking to customers, talking to board members, so that at the end, each team prepares a report on their company. And all along the way, though, we're sharing information. Every week, we're sharing what we have discovered about our company. They get put into reports at the end. And then on April 29th in Las Vegas, every company pitches one more time. And the angels go into a separate room and they vote. And then a giant check gets presented to somebody. And in some cases, 2 giant checks get presented. So that's the process that you guys are all part of. And so we do have the SSBCI matching, which is the State Small Business Credit Initiative. They have recently changed it so that instead of just doing loans to companies, that states are able to match these investments. So it's a very exciting situation for us, being one of their partners. And then upcoming in the next few weeks, we have John Emmons and Dr. John Laurie next week. And it's a double session. So we're going to have business model strategy from John and go-to-market strategies from the other John. And then coming up November 1st, we have Faye. And if you came to Sip and Learn just a couple of months ago, she had a great presentation. But today we're hearing from Liz. Liz is the president of Regarding Sales. She is a national sales expert. And her firm focuses on building business-to-business sales operating systems that drive extraordinary growth. Liz uses strategy and process to create a roadmap for success that focuses on clients getting the results they need. She has a master's degree from UC Santa Barbara and a bachelor's degree from the University of California at Davis. She's an experienced international political economist, well-schooled in digging through the data to interpret results. With her unique background combined with her focus on strategy and process, Liz delivers clients concrete solutions for difficult sales problems. So hopefully you guys don't have difficult sales problems, but Liz is going to lead us in the discussion of customer discovery and validation. So I am going to stop sharing and turn it over to Liz. You guys can put your questions in the chat.
Hopefully, if you start early enough, you won't have serious sales problems that you need help with. So let's start. Let me just introduce myself my way, which is I'm a sales strategist, and my mission is to take the mystery out of sales. And the second thing is to make sales manageable and predictable. So as you're building a sales organization, those are important things for you. I guide ready to scale founders to create a sustainable growth strategy to strengthen pipelines, streamline process, and increase revenue. So that's me, but let's talk about you, because this is really all about you guys. So let's get focused on what we're going to do today for you. The agenda is that we're going to start with your initial market research. Then we're going to talk about conducting customer interviews. Then we'll talk about value proposition canvas, customer persona, determining the initial market. Determining market competitors. I think I might have a duplicate in there, but we'll see. So that's what we're going to work on. And the goal is to determine your initial startup market and then test and validate your market concept with real customers. So let's get started. So you have an idea, right? You have this great idea for a product or service. And the next question is, who cares? And I mean that in the kindest way, right? Really, who cares? Somebody's going to care about this. And we need to figure out who it is. We need to figure out who cares and why they care. And then we can figure out how we can market and sell it. So you can't go to market until you really understand who has the problem that you're trying to solve. So right about now, when somebody says, go figure out who really wants this, is the time you start going, well, how do I do that? Who do I talk to? What do I do now, right? It's sort of this anxious thing. So let's take a minute, slow down, and break it into pieces that are manageable and understandable so you can go out and do this. So let's start with initial market research. So once you have that idea for a product, or you've even started the product, you need to go figure out who has this problem. So the first thing we want to do is test the problem. We want to figure out, who do you think has the problem that you're trying to solve? And it's really important. I'm going to back up. I don't know if anybody's talked about this yet, but it's really important that you're solving a problem or helping somebody achieve something. So our product or our service has no value. It has nothing that anybody will care about until it solves a problem or helps somebody achieve something. So we really want to start by figuring out who has this problem that I'm trying to solve. And then we need to know, how serious is the problem? So if I talk to a bunch of people and they're all going, yeah, well, that would be great, but it's just not that important. We have a problem ourselves because we don't really have a market. And then we want to know what words they use to talk about their problem. So as we're asking them, we want to hear the words that they're using. The next thing we need to do is test the solution or idea, right? So if we're first learning whether people have the problem, then we want to know, well, how important is it for you to solve this problem, right? And then, will this product or service solve the problem for you? Will it solve the whole problem or only part of the problem? How will this solution create new problems? Because typically when we go to solve something, something else happens as a result of that. And are these new problems going to be acceptable? So these are all the kinds of things we want to know. So we often think about, just the investment in our product, but there's an investment all around our product or service that often has to be addressed, particularly in a business-to-business selling environment. So the last thing is, we really need to understand about price. So what we're trying to find out here is, first, how much is the problem costing them in time, in trouble, in opportunity, right? So when I say an opportunity, there's this thing we call an opportunity cost that comes out of economics. And an opportunity cost is, if I can't do this, then what am I giving up? Or if I choose to do this, what am I giving up? So an opportunity cost are the things that I'm giving up because either I can't solve this problem or I'm choosing to do something else. So we want to really make sure that we understand the time, the trouble, and what opportunities are they giving up? How much is it costing them in opportunities? We need to understand what other priorities come before fixing this problem. So it's great if they say it's a problem, it's really important, and it's costing them a lot, but we can't fix it yet because we have other things we have to solve first. You're going to need to start listening for that being repeated over and over again. How much is the company willing to invest in fixing the problem? So it's more than just the cost of your product, it's all the other investment, and how much are they willing to pay specifically for the product or service, and how much will they invest in implementing it, right? So we need to understand all of these things before we can decide whether or not we really have a product or service that people are interested in, that we're actually solving a problem, that it's a problem we're solving or creating an opportunity or creating a growth opportunity, and that people want it, it's worth it, they're willing to pay for it. It's serious enough to fix, they're willing to pay for it. Does that make, is there anybody that doesn't make sense to before we move to the next section? Okay, I'm going to keep going. I see there's a bunch in the chat, but you'll let me know if you need me to stop.
Yes, we will. I'm not seeing any questions yet,
Okay.
other than whether you're going to share the slides. And I told them that you would.
Yes, I will share the slides. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is do a customer, or it's really a potential customer interview, right? It's not enough to just think that people have a problem. We actually have to find out if people have a problem and if they want to solve it. So the first thing we want to do, once we start thinking about, okay, what do I need to know? Then we can think about turning that into questions, and we're going to jump down to that in just a minute. So we want to turn that into actual questions, and then we want to make a list of people you know who might be experiencing this problem. So when I say problem, again, I want to be really clear. If it's a business environment, they may have a problem, or even if it's at home, they may have a problem. A refrigerator that's broken, that's a problem that needs to be fixed. There's also other kinds of things that people want to achieve, or they want, it's not a problem, they just want to have it, or they want to achieve it. And so often when I'm talking about a problem, there's some other distinctions in there that we want to be clear about. First, we're going to make a list of questions. Second, we're going to make a list of all of the people that we personally know who we could ask these questions to, who might have this problem. Third, we want to ask for introductions from people we know who might know other people who might be having these problems. So our immediate circle may not be big enough. We may need to go to our next level of engagement or our next level of contacts to look for people who can make a referral for us. So we want to talk to at least 20 or 25 people before we decide we are willing to invest more into this product or service. And then you want to actually go through, you either want to call them, email, or LinkedIn message them and let them know what you're doing. You want to be really careful, though, that you don't sound like somebody who's trying to sell them something, because you may not get the interviews if that's the case. You want to be really clear about, I'm doing market research. Will you please answer my questions? And then you want to ask the questions and document the results. It's very important that you create a process for asking and documenting results. If you just arbitrarily ask, you don't follow the process, you don't document everything, you won't have good data to take home and really think about and make the changes that you need to make. So you want to be sure you talk to people in different industries, different company sizes, and different roles, because you want to know, maybe it doesn't fit across all of the places that you think. And one of the things that I hear a lot when I'm talking to founders is, this works for everybody. Anybody can use it. Everybody can buy it. That's great. But let's really be clear about, where do we fit? So talking to people in different industries, different company sizes, and different roles will give us a better understanding. You want to ask the questions consistently and give people room to explain their answers. And we want to use a consistent format in documenting the results. This will be really important. Okay, so here are the kinds of questions. I'm not going to read through all of these, and we are going to share these with you. But these are the problem questions. Have you experienced a situation? Is it a problem for you? How are you currently dealing with the situation? How often do you experience the problem? Do you kind of get that feeling for what these are? So as you are going to take this format, go through these questions and decide, is this exactly how you want to ask the question, or is there something more specific that you need to ask? So when I say, have you experienced a situation, you're going to actually change it so it matches what you're doing. I know that's obvious, but I'm just saying it out loud. So you're going to take these as a format, as a template, and you're going to adjust them for your situation. And then we're going to do the same things once we test the problem. I have the same thing written twice. We're going to test the solution. This should say test the solution. So do you think this would solve the problem? Why or why not? What else do you think I should do? How would you change it? Do you think others would like this solution? And certainly take the opportunity, if they say yes, to get an interview with that person if you can. So I'm not going to go into any more detail with these. If you have any more questions, you can ask them. You'll get this in this presentation, and then Maggie will also send it to you as a separate document so you can edit it. Okay. So that's how we go about getting our initial market information, right? This is how the initial work that we want to do is just talking to 20 or 25 people to help us confirm what we believe to be true about the problem and the solution. And you want to ask questions also about price as you're doing it. And then some of them are in that list. Okay. One of the things that we're looking for as we're asking all of those questions is we really want to understand how our customer perceives this problem so that we can then talk to them about value. So we never want to talk to our potential clients, our prospects, about our product. We always want to talk to them about our problem. So let's talk, that's what value proposition is, talking to our client about their problem and how we solve it. This is from an organization that you're probably familiar with called Strategizer. And by now you've probably seen the business model canvas. If you have not, you will see it somewhere along this journey. This is their value proposition canvas. Okay, so this is just how they physically lay it out. You can download that. Maggie probably has a place you can download it, but if you go to strategizer.com, you can find it there, and they'll let you download it for free. Okay, so we're looking for, when we're talking about value proposition, is we're talking about the customer's pain point, their problem, the things they want to achieve. And we also want to talk about our solution and how it connects, right? It isn't enough to just talk about problem and solution. We, as the founders or the salespeople or the people talking to our clients, we need to connect it for them. They're not going to make the connection themselves. We have to find the words that connect our solution to their problem. And we can talk a little bit more about that later. So when we're talking about value proposition, one way to think about it is the customer jobs. If we're talking about a business-to-business sale, this is more appropriate. But so in a business-to-business sale, the customer has jobs they have to achieve. So we want to make sure that we understand how our solution fits into the various jobs that that customer has. And in this case, when I say customer, if it's a business-to-business complex sale, there are multiple customers in the buying decision. If it's a business-to-business simple sale, there's one or two buyers that have things that they have to get done. They're jobs that they have to do in their organization. If it's a person, if it's a business to consumer, they're just different things that they want. There may be jobs that they have to do. They may have to mow the lawn, for instance, or wash the dishes. But there may be other things that are not necessarily job related. So the next thing is we're going to talk about their pain. Every pain your customer experiences or could experience during and after getting that job done. So if that job that they're trying to do has any relationship to what we can solve, we want to understand all of the pains that they have around that job that they have to get done. And then we want to think about gains. This is that other part of it. Every benefit your customer expects, desires, or would be surprised by. So if they are trying to accomplish something and we can make it better, if we can help them do it, if we can create a solution that they didn't even expect, that's where we want to be talking about gains. And product or service, this is where, so now I've understood let's go jump back a second. So my customer has things that they need to do and they're having problems doing them, right? So these are the things they have to do. These are the problems that they're having doing them, or the things they would like to accomplish better. And then here's my product or service and how I solve that problem for them. And then how do I actually create value? So this is what my product does. This is how it creates value for you. So how your product or service eliminate customer pains or create customer gains. That's the part about they have a problem, I have a solution. This is how we create value, is connecting the problem and the solution. Okay. I do this. This is the way Strategizer does it that I just explained to you. This is how I do it. And I think it's the same concept. It's just framed a little bit differently. So what I typically say is to write a really good value proposition, you want to start from the outside in. So we want to start with the customer's problem in their own words. So the minute I start talking to a customer in their own words, they get me. When I talk to a customer about their problem in my words, they don't know what I'm talking about. So my customer's problem in their own words, how my product or solution solves it, and why I'm the best solution for the ideal customer. So there's a whole bunch of customers I could be going after, but the ones that I'm the best fit for, here's how I eliminate your pain and why I'm the best one for you. Okay. So that is value proposition. And I don't know if there's any questions on that, but if there aren't, we're going to keep going. And the next thing we're going to talk about is customer persona. And I have very strong feelings about this, so they may come out while we're talking about this. A customer persona, let's just sit here for a minute. A customer persona is what we're trying to do is understand the different buyers who are involved in buying from us. So customer persona, if we're talking about business to consumer, that's B2C. If we're talking about a business to consumer sale, then there's really one person, possibly two, that are making a buying decision. And this person is making a buying decision about something personal. They may be buying something to do work around their house. They may be buying something cosmetic. They may be buying something that they wear, something that they drive, right? They're solving a personal problem, or they're buying something that makes them feel good or something that they want. So when I'm thinking about B2C and I'm thinking about personas, I'm thinking about things, we're thinking about the things that describe the person who's most likely to buy from us. And when it's a business to consumer, it's things like age, income, gender, education, whether they own a home or not. Depending upon what you're selling, there would be other things. If you sell a weight control product, well, then it would be people who are having issues with their weight. You know, depending upon what you're selling, these criteria about who the people are will change. So that's business to consumer. Now, if we're talking about a business to business, but it's a simple sale, so you're basically talking to the owner or the office manager, or maybe just purchasing, there's just really one person who's involved in this buying decision, then we know that they're buying for a business reason. They're trying to solve a business problem. So we're interested in things like, what is their job title? Because that tells us a little bit about how they buy and why they buy and what matters to them. We might want to know about the company income. So if I'm selling something very expensive to a company that only has a small revenue, they may not be able to afford it. We want to know things about, are the people that work there are working from home, or are they working in the office? We want to know, might want to know what kinds of technology they use. These are the things that will matter when they're buying from us. And the third is a business to business complex sale. And that means there are many people buying. It's an expensive solution. It's going to impact the way multiple parts of the organization function. And so you're going to have a lot of people with different relationships to this problem who are going to have different opinions about it. So we want to know what the titles of all the people are, what their relationship to the problem is, their role in the buying process. So this is how these differ depending upon who you're selling to. So what exactly is the persona? Well, a persona is, let's say I sell this product. I sell lipstick. Let's just make it really simple. I sell lipstick. So I sell lipstick for teenagers, right? The lipstick I design is specifically for teenagers, and they probably come from higher income families because it's pretty expensive, right? Those are the things I'd be looking for. So if I have personas, I may have one or I may have multiple, even for a business to consumer. So I may have one persona is the teenager that's going to buy it. The other is grandma who's going to put it in their Christmas stocking. The other is mom who might buy it for them, or maybe a fourth one is mom who really wants to feel like a teenager, right? So we want to really think about, as we go through this, who are the different kinds of people that we will be selling to. So Maggie, jump in if that was not clear or if I need to add anything to that. It's kind of a difficult concept until you start playing with it. And then you're like, oh, so when we're doing business to consumer, it often sounds something like, okay, this is Susie, and she's 15 years old, and she lives with her dad, and she goes to a private school. That's how we start to describe them. Now, when we get into a business to business, then it might be a conversation like, and there could be 3 or 4 different personas. But when we get to this next one, it might sound something like, this is Mary, and Mary owns her own business. And she is the CEO, and she has been investing in this business for 15 years, and she's really ready to grow, right? So now I'm talking about a person, and we're giving them a name. The last one, though, when you're talking about a business-to-business complex sale, you have a bunch, and it's probably not so important what you call them or how old they are. It's more things like, this is the CEO. The CEO is concerned about reporting to the board on solving these problems. This problem that we're talking about is not of great importance to the CEO, but we need his buy-in because, okay, this is the technology person. The technology person has to deal with this every day. They're very frustrated that it doesn't work. They have to get the CEO's buy-in, right? So these are the kinds of things and how they're different depending upon who we're talking to. Again, if this isn't clear, I'll explain it later. This is a persona canvas that I found. This is not from Strategizer, but it was kind of cool. And so here they go, here negative trends and positive trends that are happening, in the world around them, headaches and opportunities that they might be talking about, fears, and I forget what the other word is. Hopes. I had you guys covering it up. And then name, age, occupation, other information. Age, I don't think is relevant unless it impacts how they buy from you. So if you're talking about a business-to-business complex sale, age probably doesn't matter. If it does, then put it in there. Okay, why aren't you going? Okay, so the headaches, trends came first. Trends, what positive, negative things are happening in the world around them? How are the trends creating headaches or opening opportunities for them? Because remember, things could be good and they want to buy from you because things are good. They have fears and hopes. What are they worried about in terms of day-to-day or implementing a new solution? What are they hoping to accomplish? And then demographics, age, occupation, job title, income, revenue, geography, industry, all depending on what's really relevant for the person who's buying from you. And then what do they need to accomplish or avoid or fix? That's persona. And I hope I made that clear. There's lots of content on personas if you look out there. I have just one caveat about personas. I do not believe that if you're talking about a business-to-business complex sale, there is such a thing as an ideal persona. And you will hear marketing firms talk about this because they're saying, this is the person we want to write all of our content to. And I would just advise you to not fall into that trap. You want to, if you're in a business-to-business complex sale, you want to write your content for all of the different buyers. It might be different content for different buyers, but don't just get stuck on one ideal persona. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about determining the initial market. This is the thing about sales and about marketing, is you have finite resources. Also product development. You have finite resources. You are not Coca-Cola. You do not have essentially infinite resources. They're finite. So it's best to limit your market. So you want to focus on what you're going to call your initial market. These are going to be the people who are feeling the pain the most. They need what you're selling more than anybody else.
Hi, Liz. We have a question.
Yes.
Can we have more than one persona, even if we're doing business to consumer sales?
Yes, you may have 3 or 4. That's what I'm saying. So let's just say my persona is, I have Susie, who's the teenager, and then I have Grace, her grandmother, and I have, Alice, her mother, and then I have this other, mother, Jolene, who thinks she wants to be a teenager, right? So I could have 4 personas, but then when we get to this point, we say, okay, I can't market to all those people right away. So let's figure out who I'm going to market to first. Am I going to market to Susie? Or am I going to market to her mother? Am I going to market to her grandmother? Chances are I'm going to probably try to market to Susie and get her to spend her dollars on it. So we can have multiple personas. But again, when we get to our initial market, when we're talking about where am I going to spend my money right now? I have limited resources. I have limited money. I have limited people. Where am I going to focus? I'm going to focus on who's feeling the pain the most or who wants it the most. Where does the solution fit the best, right? I could sell it to everybody, but 15-year-olds are most likely to like it. So let's focus there. Or companies that are this size are most likely to buy it, who are doing these things. So let's focus there. We want to really narrow. We want to know who has the resources to purchase. We want to focus on them. What will be the easiest sale and what will have the shortest sales cycle. So one of the things when we're first starting out, if you have a business to business complex sale, and you think you can sell to huge corporations, chances are your sales cycle is going to be 12 to 24 months, and you may not have the runway to make those sales. So if you don't have the runway to make those sales, then you need to make sure that you have some quicker closes in your funnel, in your initial market, okay? So what we're looking for, the other thing you could call this is your ideal customer profile. That's my favorite word for the initial market. This is where you want to start. These are the easiest. This is cherry picking. These people want it. They need it. They're ready to buy it. They can afford it. And they're going to buy it quickly. That's where you want to start. Okay. You can expand out beyond that, but let's get the money where it's easiest to be gotten. The other thing that might impact your initial market is where you have relationships. So if you come out of a certain industry and you have a ton of relationships in that industry, even though it may not be the best, the most ideal market, it may be the place where you can get your traction first. So the other thing that's important about this initial market, it's not just on the sales and the marketing side, but often I talk to people who are trying to sell to too many different markets, so they never get their product really finished. They never get that first version finished because they're trying to change it and change it and change it for every single person who comes to them, whether or not it's their ideal client. If we're focusing someplace, then all of the changes that we make in the product are specifically around where we're focusing. And we don't worry about those other changes until we're ready to pursue those markets. And I don't know if I got ahead of you there, but I hope that made sense. Okay. Determining your market competitors is the next piece. And it's really important to understand who your competition is, especially when you are when you're asking for money. People want to know that you understand where your competition is. And it's important to understand there's always competition. And I hear founders tell me all the time, oh, we have no competition. Nobody does anything like this. That may be true. And they're solving the problem somehow. So there's some sort of a solution. Even if it's writing it down on a notebook, there's still a solution that somebody's using. It may not be a good one, but there's still something that they're doing. So when we talk about defining your competition, you want to start with how are your prospects solving the problem now? They may not be solving it well. I have a client that I was working with that did these calculations, right? So how the people were doing it was in spreadsheets, and it was really cumbersome and difficult, and calculators, and it was really not good, but it was what they were doing. So that is your competition. So that's the first thing. So how are your clients solving the problem now, or your prospects? What options are available to solve that problem? So maybe they're doing it by hand, and maybe they could do it in a spreadsheet or a smart sheet, which is another kind of spreadsheet, a project management tool or whatever. But maybe none of those are great solutions, but they are all options they could choose. And then the other thing is are there other companies that are doing something similar to what you're proposing? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We think that, oh, having no competition is ideal. Actually, if there's competition and there's other people selling, then there is a market, right? So don't be afraid of acknowledging who your competition is. So if there are other companies that are doing similar things, that is also competition, okay? So now we want to assess the competition. How easy is it to use the current solution? If I'm using a calculator and I'm writing down a bunch of things on a bunch of different pieces of paper, that's probably not an easy solution. If I'm forcing Excel to do the project that really it's cumbersome to do it in, that's not a great solution, but it is a choice. So if the current solutions that are out there are not easy to use, that's important to know. And then you need to understand how difficult is it to use them. And then if your competition is solving the problem, how much of the problem is still left unsolved? So chances are, if you're creating a better product, a better mousetrap, you're solving some more additional part of the problem than your competition or the other solutions that are available. And how expensive are the current solutions? And that includes, doing it by hand. There's an expense to that, right? It takes a tremendous amount of time. So when they say it doesn't cost anything, that's not true. It costs 3 hours worth of someone's time. So how expensive are the current solutions? Whether they're direct competition or indirect or poor solutions, we want to know what they cost. And I like to put it into a table. So I like to put everything that I'm comparing into tables. So the first thing is, what are the current, and some of these may overlap, you guys, but what are the current things that people are using to fix this problem? And
Hi, Liz.
yeah.
I'm so sorry. We have another question from David. What's your advice for defining the competition if you're trying to create a new market category?
They're still doing it somehow. So let's take that to the end, and you can put in the notes exactly what you mean by defining a new market category. So sometimes when we're creating a new market category, like dating sites were a whole new market category, but people still dated before that. They solved the problem some other way. They went and hung out in bars, or they got friends to introduce them. So even though dating sites were a whole new market category, people still solved that problem somehow. So if you don't mind sharing what you mean by that, we can talk it through later, or you can reach out to me individually later and we can talk it through. Happy to do that with any of you. So current fixes, they can do nothing. That's always the first thing. One opportunity, the biggest competition you will ever face is to do nothing, to just keep doing things the way they're doing it. So how are they solving it? Is it pen and paper? Is it Excel spreadsheet? Is it trying to use some other tool as a CRM that isn't really a CRM? Like what are the current things that they could do? What are some other solutions that they could be using that people may not have thought of? And who are your direct competitors, meaning they are making a product similar to yours?
One more question.
Okay. Yeah.
So Sujin is asking if there is no US competitor, since we are the inventor patent holder of this product, but then there is a Japanese copycat that isn't the same product. Should we mention them as a competitor?
Yeah, they're a competitor because they have just as much opportunity to enter this market as anyone else does. But you still have competitors because people are still doing that some other way. I know that's so hard to understand, but people, if you're doing something that isn't solving a problem that people are already trying to solve, then you're probably not doing something worth doing. So if I'm eating strawberries because I don't have lipstick and I think that will make my lips red, that's still, lipstick is a whole brand new concept comparatively, right? How are people solving the problem now? Even if it isn't a good solution, even if it is nothing like yours, even if you have an incredible AI solution and everybody else is doing stuff by hand, they're still solving it somehow. And if they're not solving it somehow, so, Facebook was a whole new concept, completely new. How were people doing that? Well, we were sending letters and going and meeting in coffee shops and doing lots of other things. So chances are there is some way that people are trying to solve that problem now, even if they're not solving it well. And we can talk more about those afterwards, because I think we need specific solutions. It's hard to talk about things that I don't have a specific. So you want to compare your competitors, make a list of the top competitors, make a list of things you need to know about each one, and map out your findings. And what I recommend you do is you actually go to their websites. So if you have direct competitors, if you're creating a whole new space, you may not have competitors. But you may have people out there that say they're solving the same problem. So if you have competitors or people that say they're solving the same problem, you want to go ahead and look up the competitor and look up the problem they solve, the mission, the product description, customer benefits, and then what you think is missing from their solution. If you have competitors, even like, again, if Excel is your competitor and you're doing AI, it's still how people are solving the problem now. We want to map out as the most that we can about our competitors so that we understand how we're going to compete. We can't create a go-to-market strategy unless we understand our positioning in the marketplace. And we are positioned in the marketplace. This is a whole other conversation, but we are positioned in the marketplace vis-a-vis two things. So the first thing is we're positioned in the marketplace in relationship to how the customer wants the problem solved. And the other is we find our position in the marketplace compared to our competition. And again, I know you think there's no competition, but there's some form of competition. And so when we're positioning ourselves in the marketplace, when we're writing our messaging, when we're picking our ideal customer, when we're figuring out where to spend money and how to market and what our marketing messaging should be, we need to understand our competition so that we understand how to position ourselves in the marketplace. And the way that I explain position, and this is again another topic, but if you think about buying athletic shoes, for instance, if you walk into a shoe store and you see, I don't know, there's 100 different, if you walk into a sports, I don't even know, I think Sports Authority exists anymore. Anyway, you walk in someplace and there's a whole wall of shoes, or maybe 100 pairs of shoes, athletic shoes, and you need to pick one. Somehow, either you pick it by color or you pick it by something else, or you pick it by brand and you go, look, I need the very best running shoes I can get. And ASICS makes really great running shoes. I really need the best court shoes I can get. And Nike makes the best basketball court shoes out there. And I really need the best ones for tennis. I'm going to buy a pair of Adidas. Like, that branding exists. They have positioned themselves in the marketplace based upon who their competition is and who their ideal client is in order to get you to purchase from them. Does that make sense to everybody, or is that unclear? And that's my whole presentation. I just did it really fast so you'd have time for all of these questions that you have. Okay, and so let me just share with you while you're thinking about your questions, I am asking you to please go and connect with me on LinkedIn and tell me where you met me so we can continue the conversation, or you can ask me for more help. So I'm offering my help, please accept it. And you also, if you download the PDF that Maggie's giving you, I think you'll be able to schedule straight from this page on the document, but I'm not positive. But you can always go to Regarding Sales. You can email me at Liz@regarding-sales. Please ask for help. I'm offering, okay? So let's go back to all those questions.
First question, what strategies do you recommend to understand how to sell the value of a SaaS product in terms that initial market understands without getting caught up in the technical jargon?
So again, I always want to start with my customers' problems in their words. So imagine this for a moment. I hope you guys have all been to a trade show. If you haven't, go to one because you need to go and see how trade shows work. So if you've ever been to a trade show, you're kind of walking along the trade show and you're looking at all the booths and you're going, wonder what they do. Wonder what that is. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, that's just the name of a company. Wonder what that is. Have you ever experienced this? Because I do it all the time. And what I really want people to do is to walk by and see that I understand their problem in their words. So when I talk to CEOs who've been in business for a long time, I say to them, here's what I hear from other companies like yours, that sales is chaotic, it's unpredictable, and it's unmanageable. Does that kind of sound like what you're dealing with? Because I have an answer for that. And then people can say, you can really take the chaos out of my sales organization. I'm like, yes, I can. I can take this chaos out of your sales organization. Now we have a conversation, because I didn't start with them and say, hi, I'm Liz Heiman and I create sales operating systems. I didn't make a big sign that said that. I do say that often in context, but they're not going to understand it, right? They're not going to understand when I say I create sales operating systems for growing companies, but they are going to understand I take the chaos out of sales so you can grow your company. Does that help in how you phrase the messaging to customers who won't understand what it is you do? You don't use jargon. I have a customer that is in telecom, and they keep writing to their customers about SIP trunks and IPPRI. How many of you know what those are? Because I had never heard those words until I started working with this client, and yet they're talking to their customers about it, and their customers don't know what they're talking about. So we want to be really careful to use words that they understand. Did that help? Did that answer the question?
He said, yes, thank you, working on simplifying our message.
Excellent. So who said they had, if there's no US competitor? Tell me about this. What do I need to know in order to answer your question?
Sujin asked if there is no US competitor, since we are the innovator patent holder of this product, but then there is a Japanese copycat that isn't the same product. Should we mention them as a competitor? Sujin, do you want to elaborate on that question?
So can you tell me, Sujin, how do they solve that problem now?
She said, I created a device we manufactured. She took my training and tried to dismantle the device.
Yeah, people do it all the time. Okay, nonetheless, how are people solving the problem that this device solves?
It cures glue faster.
So how are they doing it now? They're waiting a really long time for the glue to dry. That's how they're solving the problem now. They're waiting until it dries. So some people are maybe putting air conditioning systems on it. They're putting fans on it or coolers on it. They're keeping the room cooler. They're doing something to solve that problem now. Do you understand that? Less red eyes. It cures glue faster, less red eyes. Time is faster, lasts longer. Okay, so my customer's problem is this. My glue doesn't dry fast enough, and it slows down my production line. That's one problem. My second problem is I can't keep employees because the glue drying process is irritating their eyes, and they don't want to be in that situation. My third problem is that I am selling products that I know the glue is not going to last as long as it should, and I'm getting returned. So do you see how now that I've broken it down into problems, how are you solving it? Well, I'm solving it by only having the employees in the room for 3 hours at a time, and then they have to take a really long break. That's how I keep their eyes from getting red. I'm solving it by getting them goggles. They have really good goggles that keep their eyes from right. So even though it's not competitive with what you're doing, drying glue faster is not competitive with goggles. That is how they're solving the problem now. And it is a competitor with yours because they could say, well, we just buy these really good goggles and it's not a problem anymore. Right? So David, I'm building an AI system that automatically generates a wiki and answer natural language questions for salespeople. So how do salespeople get those questions answered now? I would love to talk to you, by the way, David, because I'm helping salespeople all day long, every day. So tell me, set up a time and tell me about your AI system, and I can answer a bunch of your questions. So, but somehow they're solving the problem now. They're looking on Google for a really long time. It's taking a really long time. They're not getting good answers, but they're still looking on Google. They're still looking in Seamless. They're still looking wherever it is that they're looking for these answers. They're solving it somehow, even though it's not working well. So what we're doing when we create a better mousetrap, have you heard that phrase? So we're creating a better mousetrap. There's already a mousetrap. It may be really bad, but now we're going to create something really cool that solves the problem in a better way. But there's already something people are doing. Okay.
Next question is from Paul. A lot of this sounds ideal for products or services. Do you feel this applies to F&B as well, or do you have a different strategy?
Okay, so F&B meaning food and beverage. Okay, just making sure. Okay, so again, I don't know. Are you talking about a restaurant? Are you talking about a product that you sell? I don't know enough to answer that question. If I was talking about a restaurant, we make restaurants to appeal to certain kinds of buyers. When you start thinking about the restaurant that you're creating, again, you're thinking about solving a problem. I want a restaurant where I can take my kids and they can run around and play and nobody cares. I want a restaurant that's quiet and the food is all really fresh and locally grown and the experience is fabulous and I feel wonderful when I'm done. I need a place where I can go and eat really quickly and still have a good, healthy meal. Right? Do you hear all the different kinds of problems? Your restaurant is you're going to pick a category that you're going to solve a problem, and then you're going to try to help customers understand, prospects understand why you solve their problem best. Why is this the place you should go if you want to come play with your kids and you don't want to go to Chuck E. Cheese, right? Because the food is terrible. Kids are afraid of the things. They get lost, blah, 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 right? You don't want to do that. You want to come play with us here because, do you see what I'm saying? I'm solving a problem to help women figure out what's eating them so they can stop eating. Coaching business. Excellent. Oh, I just guessed that about weight loss and I didn't even know you were in the class. Okay, so there are lots of tools out there that people can use, right? They can use Noom, they can use Weight Watchers, they can use, there's another one, I forget what it's called. I forget. There's a bunch of different online tools that people can use to lose weight. And so you may not feel that you're in that category that compares to those, but when people are making a decision, they're going to say, oh, well, I could use Noom, or I could use Weight Watchers, or Vita, or whatever other things are out there. And so what you want to do is think a little bit more about if you're solving problems that to help, you're helping women to solve problems so they don't overeat to make themselves feel better. So that's great. But now we need to be able to say, that's the first part. Here's the problem I solve. But the problem you really solve is, as a woman, I swear I'm hungry all the time. I just can't stop eating. I'm so anxious. I eat all day long and I can't stop. Okay, so that's the problem I'm having. So now the solution that you have is a coaching tool that can help them, or a coaching business or whatever it is that can help them manage those feelings that make them want to eat all the time. And the reason I'm best for you is because you have a real life coach working with you all the time. Or the reason we're best for you is because we really work great with women between 30 and 45 who are professionals, and we understand what your life is really like. Right. So this is what we're doing. We're really trying to tie. You have a problem. I have a tool. I know who my ideal customer is, and here's why I work best for them. Did I get everybody?
I think so, unless anybody, Logan, does anybody there have any questions?
We do. We have a couple of questions from in the room. So Rick, if you just speak up to the screen, you can ask a question.
Hi, Liz. I have a Google survey that I created, and can I stop there, or do I need to also conduct 25 or around 25 live interviews, or can I just stop at the Google survey? It's about maybe 15 questions. It calculates all the data and gives me that data analytics. But can I stop there, or do I need to conduct the 25 live interviews?
I would say go and have a couple of and this is kind of off the cuff answer, but here's what I'd suggest. Go and talk to a couple of people and see if you're learning more by talking to them than you did on the survey. And if you do, then you might want to consider conducting a few more surveys in person, just to fill in the missing gaps. Or you might reach out to those people that you already surveyed and say, hey, I got your survey. Thank you so much. Can I ask you 2 more questions really quickly? So that's what I would do.
And I'm shooting for like 50 surveys. Is that a good number, or should it be 100 surveys?
There's no should be. I think, when you think you have enough information that you're willing to invest the money in that market, right? If you don't have the answers you need and you're not convinced that you're right based upon the data, then I would say you need to do more surveys. But if you're convinced that you really got it right after 15 or 30 or 50, then that's where it's the time to stop. I think you need to have enough information that you're willing to spend your last dime on it because you believe in it so much and you have proof that it works, and that you can convince investors that you know who your market is, what their problem is, how they talk about it, how important it is to them, and whether they're willing to pay to solve it. When you're sure about those answers, you're done doing research. Well, at least for the time being. There will come more times to do research later. My one kind of caveat about doing a survey as opposed to a conversation is you miss the look on people's faces that make you go, oh, wait, what are you saying? Tell me more about that. I see that has you confused, right? You're not getting that feedback that you get in an exchange.
Any other questions from the room right now? All right. We're done for questions in the room for right now.
Okay, we have a question from Jeff on where is the best resources for market size research, or what are the number of market size research resources, website examples, or etc.
Maggie, do you have a good answer to that?
Yeah, I'm actually going to put it into the chat. We have a research librarian at UNLV who is willing to help people do market size research. But the more specific you can be, the more defined on who your customer is, the better his results are going to be. So I'm typing his name into the chat so you guys can take it. His name is Patrick Griffiths, and I'll put his email in there. And if you ask a very broad question, he probably won't respond at all. But if you say that you heard through AngelNV that he will help with customer research, and you have a SaaS product, and your potential customers are these types of businesses, can you tell me who the competitors are and what is currently being spent in this area? He can help you with that.
You can also look, there are a lot of government sites that will give you a tremendous amount of data depending upon what you're looking for. So, and SBA also has data depending upon what you're looking for. So, sorry, I wasn't following the question based. So you're really talking about the TAM, SAM, and SOM right now, which are going to have another presentation where they're going to talk more about that.
Lenny's question is, I am offering a service to a unique client that is billable to insurances. The problem it solves is that it makes police jobs easier and cities better. Our service is really available here at this level for our unique clients.
So again, Lenny, I think you probably need to reach out to me and explain a little bit more, because I don't understand the part about insurance and making police jobs easier. So I probably need a better explanation so I can help you talk through that. And I'm not sure what your question is specifically at this level.
Lenny, do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, either elaborate or schedule a time, Lenny, and we can go through it. If it might be helpful for some people to hear more, but it's completely up to you.
Okay. So Lenny says, okay, I'm assuming that means he'll reach out to you directly. Any other questions from in the room, Logan?
Wow, I feel like I blew through that really fast. I guess
We are good in the room.
They're either
Okay.
shocked or they got it. I'm not sure which.
Liz, you did an excellent job. I'm sure they got it. And we seem to always get a few questions that straggle in on email anyway. So we'll be in touch if there are any of those, and we'll distribute your information, your slides and such as well. But yeah, we have no other rooms for those no other questions from those in the room right now.
Okay.
We have actually 2 more questions from online, and then Maggie, should we wrap it up after these 2? Okay. So David is asking, how would you recommend finding customers to talk to?
So there's a couple ways. One is you probably know some people who have this problem. So, and if you can't think of them off the top of your head, how good is your LinkedIn? Can you go to your LinkedIn and figure out who you have relationships with, and like think about who might have this problem, CEOs of these kinds of companies. So, you know, if you have LinkedIn Navigator, you can do all kinds of sorting to find out who these different people are. I also think it's, once you can identify who you think the people are, like I think they're CEOs of very small companies that do this. Okay, well, if that's who my client is, who do I know that might know those people? And you'd be surprised. Go get on your LinkedIn. Again, if you have LinkedIn Navigator, which is kind of expensive, but you can go do all kinds of research about who's connected to whom in there. So you can go, if you say, okay, I think that my friend Joe, who works at such and such place, might know a bunch of these people. So go to Joe's website, LinkedIn, look at all their connections and say, hey, Joe, could you introduce me to any of these people? Do you know any of them? And he'll tell you yes or no. I can do that. I always suggest that people go to my LinkedIn and look and see who I know. I'm happy to introduce you to anybody that I know on my LinkedIn, and even people I don't, because if they connected with me, they must know who I am. So I'm happy to, if you can find people on my LinkedIn that might know be having the problem that you're having, I'm happy to make the introduction so you can do the survey. But that's the best way is, find people that you know and look at their LinkedIn and see if they'll make a referral. If they'll say, hey, and it's not even a referral, it's just, could you introduce me and see if they'll answer some questions for me while I do my market research. The other thing is you can buy a list, right? So you can say, all right, I need CEOs of companies this size in this area, whatever it is. You could buy a list and then you could go through and see if any of them will talk to you, or you could look them up on LinkedIn and see if they are really the right people. Those are a couple of ideas. Maggie, I don't know if you have more, or if anybody else has other options, but I always like to start with my inner circle. Those are the people who are going to be most helpful to you. Well, not my inner circle, your inner circle. But you're welcome to go to my inner circle too.
Liz, I actually told them to beat their feet over to the Fremont Street experience. What I like about that is a lot of tourists will be there and they will not be necessarily from this area. So you're getting a good cross section of people from across the country. And so I think that actually adds more, although within your LinkedIn network, you're going to have people all over the place. But going to a place where a lot of people are, and before they're too drunk, and just ask them where they're from, and then start asking about the problem first. Have you ever experienced this? It's very important you do it in the order that Liz suggested, talking about the problem first, and before you ever mention what your solution is.
So, and the other thing is, again, who you ask also depends a lot on what kind of a product it is. Is it business to consumer? Is it business to business, small business? Is it business to business, mid-size or enterprise? These things will matter when you're trying to figure out who to talk to. But you'd be surprised. People always tell me, I don't have a network. Well, then create a network. Who do you play golf with? Connect with them on LinkedIn. Who's your mother's best friend? Connect with them on LinkedIn. Who's your best friend's mother? Connect with them start connecting. Who do your kids play sports with? Connect with them. Then once you know those people, you connect with them, then you can begin to use their network to expand. So if you have no network on LinkedIn, go build it, because you know people, everybody you know can be part of your LinkedIn network.
We have a question from Francis. Do you have any suggestions on conducting in-person interviews, surveys? I have tapped out my network and I want to expand my research for women. I think a lot of what you just said right now, Liz, is relevant to that, as well as even the Fremont experience, I feel like is relevant to that. So Maggie or Liz, do you want to take that question?
I think it's all the things I just said. If you're looking specifically for women, then where are the women that you're looking for going? Again, when you say, I'm trying to help women, that's half of the world. I mean, you can't help them all. I don't care what you are selling. You can't help them all. So let's be as narrow about women with what specific problem, what age group, what things do they like? Where do they hang out? What are the things I need to know? Are they students? Are they professionals? Are they stay-at-home moms, which is a profession? But where are they physically? Where do they interact? Where do they get information? All of these things will, one, matter when you're narrowing your marketplace, but two, it'll make it much easier for you to find the people. So if you're talking about women, are you talking about women who are on groups in Facebook? Go join those groups, right? Where are the people that you want to talk to? If you know where they are, you'll be able to reach them.
And I have a really specific idea for you, Francis. Later this week, a movie is premiering. It is Ticket to Paradise with Julie Roberts and George Clooney. And I suspect that if you went to the theater, you don't even have to go to a late show. Go to a midday show. I think you can probably find your target market there.
Okay. He said, thanks a million. That was the last of our questions. So I just wanted to take the time to say thank you for everybody, to everybody for joining us. Next week, we have a couple speakers, both named John. John Emmons will be going over business models, and John Laurie with go-to-market strategies. We will be sharing the link to this recording as well as the presentation Friday Pacific Standard noon. Logan, I will pass it off to you in case anybody else has any more questions in the room. If not, Maggie, if you want to add anything.
I am writing a response to Jay's comment about commissioned research reports. And they are very expensive. All right, I'm almost done typing it, but not quite. What I'm suggesting is that that's usually prohibitive for a startup. And so you should start with Google, do all the research you can there, and then you should be able to refine your questions before reaching out to Patrick to find similar sport products, just to get an idea of the market size.
Thank you.
Roxana, there's no additional questions from in the room. I just want to let everyone online and here in person know that of course, the doors will be open next week. We will be in person. So you are all welcome to come and join us. We'll have a few snacks and some water and drinks out so you guys can engage with some of our speakers there.
Thanks, Logan.
Thank you, Liz. This was incredible and very insightful. And I hope everybody has a great evening. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.